Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Owner's Box After Dark. Hi, I'm Mark Farinella. I'm your host, the former Patriots beat writer, sports columnist for the Sun Chronicle in Attleboro, Massachusetts, now currently in my second year of blissful retirement. And this is the Owner's Box After Dark. This is the maybe you could call it the light version of my blog and my regular podcast, which is an audio only podcast. Here you get to see me in the flesh on vacation. And that's exactly what I'm doing here for episode 4. I'm going to talk about my vacation because what the hell, that's what I'm on, right? Okay. It was a cool and drizzly day today, by the way. Cheers to all of you. Love this cup. And, I'm surprised. I imagine some of you might want to offer some sympathy for the fact that I've had some less than optimal weather for several days of the vacation so far. But it really doesn't bother me at all, at least not that much. Usually at this time of year, what I'm looking for is relaxation and the ability to recharge my batteries before going back to work at the Patriots training camp. Although, as I mentioned in a previous episode, I'm not anticipating any such work from the Associated Press this year because of the unique circumstances we're experiencing in the year of the coronavirus. Besides, I never really liked the idea of spending 2 weeks on vacation running from one place to the other, and, in hot weather and surrounded by sweaty people and exhausting myself when the whole point of not working is to engage in relaxation. I remember one year I took a trip with a friend down to Nantucket Island. And we went on the high-speed ferry, which was pretty cool. We drove very early in the day down to Hyannis, and we got on the ferry there. And it only takes about an hour to get to Nantucket, as opposed to the 2-hour trip it would take on the stinky diesel ferries. God, breathing that stuff in for 2 hours is enough to make anybody want to throw up. But yeah, the high-speed ferry was cool. But then when we got there, it was like rush here, do that, do this. Got to go into this store. Got to go over here. Got to drive down to the beach. Let's find a beach somewhere. No, we can't go in this beach. And then all of a sudden, we're realizing that we're going to be late for the ferry coming back, so we got to race like hell to get back there. And needless to say, it could have been more enjoyable than it was. Not to mention the fact that we were surrounded by crowds and sweaty people and just not exactly. We should have gone down in October, to be honest. Something like that. We should have gone down in a time of year when there just weren't the scores of summer vacationers down there. And of course, now with the coronavirus and all that, you don't want to be near any people, let alone sweaty people. So, even though my life is one big exercise in relaxation now, since my retirement, I'm not going to change my game plan for vacations all that much. Indeed, I've been here since Saturday, and only yesterday was the first time that I visited the beach, which, as I will mention a little bit later, was not the little slice of paradise that you might think it would be. Today was also the first time I had some legitimate seafood. And here it is. Yeah. Or what's left of part of it anyway. Delicious. I'll put that here for later use. I'm still not fully down on what all the pandemic related restrictions are on restaurants down here. So I kind of just figured I'd wait and do a good seafood dinner that I could do myself at some point. And so that's what I did today, basically. It's less aggravation, definitely less expensive if you cook it yourself. Of course, the risk is, you're cooking it yourself, so you're taking your life in your hands probably. So as you can see, I did gobble down a lobster today. He sacrificed his life for my stomach. I'm not the greatest cook in the world, but there are a few things I do well, and lobster's one of them. As long as I just don't try to, go too far afield of it. I picked out a very delicious looking 1.5 pound crustacean at the Katamet Fish Market down the road. And then I sent his spirit to his ancestors about an hour later. You boil a pot of water. Keep them cool in the refrigerator, and then when the water's boiling, add salt, add sea salt to it, and then all of a sudden when it's boiling, hasta la vista. And then you cook them for about 15 minutes or so, because that was about the weight. That was the suggestion from some lobster site in Maine. And I'll trust lobster sites in Maine because Maine is where lobsters basically became a national obsession. Add some unsalted melted butter and a delicious adult beverage, and it was a perfectly location appropriate dinner. And I did enjoy it. Regardless of what the poor folks from PETA might say, I believe that PETA stands for People Eating Tasty Animals. That was terrible. I'll get letters. Okay, I mentioned the beach. And here's why it may have been a less than satisfying experience this time around. Since I was in high school, I've been visiting this one particular private beach with the blessings of the property owners, and it has been my retreat for 2 weeks every summer for at least the last 25 years. Before I say anything else, even though it's not likely that the owners of the property will ever see this, I really am greatly appreciative to have had the use of their wonderful beachfront for all these years. I mean, they don't really know me all that well. They know my friend who owns this house, and he and his father came down here when he was just a little kid, so we're talking at least 60 years. Again, I joined the party a little bit late. I used to go to Dennisport, much farther down the Cape, where my family had a house. But when you've got a million screaming Italians all coming into the same house, and it was only 2 bedrooms, it wasn't the most pleasant experience there either. And my mother really hated the Cape too, but that's a story for another time. So, usually, there aren't too many people I know on the beach. And there usually aren't that many people during the weekdays anyway. Now, I don't bring a big crowd of people with me. I mean, over the years, I've usually just had one person at a time for only maybe about a few days or a week at the most. And in these 2 weeks, for many reasons, including the ongoing pandemic, it's just going to be me. So on Thursday, I made the walk across the public beach to the private one, put down my chair near the shoreline and a nearby rock jetty, and I had a nice area all to myself at low tide, the tide slightly coming in, for about an hour. At that point, however, a group of about 7 people, 5 adults, 2 young children, came down the beach and claimed a spot of sand very close to me. Now, I was feeling a little crowded, so I got up and moved my chair back a few feet. But then 2 more women arrived for this crowd, and they plopped their chairs down in roughly the space I vacated. Apparently, these people have never heard of social distancing in the age of the coronavirus. None were wearing any masks, and I guarantee you that they were not more than 6 feet away from me, even though still plenty of vacant beachfront nearby where they could have put their chairs. In fact, I'm about 5'10", and if I fell straight ahead into the midst of these people, my face would have ended up in somebody's lap. And that wouldn't be an acceptable outcome for any of the parties concerned in this instance. I briefly put on my face mask, which I had brought out with me. And do I have it here? I do. Yeah, I can't get it over the headphones, but you get the idea. And I wondered if the people would catch the hint. They didn't. So rather than cause some sort of incident, and sometimes there have been people with me over the years who probably would have said something really nasty, and God knows what cleanup would have been required after that. I just packed up my stuff and left. I'd had enough anyway. By the way, let me tell you one thing. Walking on loose sand with a really bad knee is not a good idea. Now, I know I've complained enough about the knee, about, in these podcasts and in my own podcast. So I'll spare you that today. But let me tell you, I was paying for it after a while. So anyway, with the weather likely to be very hot this weekend and with a big influx of mainlanders expected to be battling for beach space, that'll probably be my last visit to the beach until maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week. And it's just as well. I still have just a working man's tan. And that means that practically all of my upper torso under this shirt is about as white as fresh snow. And no one wants to see that, not even me. After I consumed my lobster friend and cleaned up, I sat down in front of the TV tonight. Actually, that's over there. I wanted to see something athletic. I really miss live sports. I mean, the Red Sox aren't starting up for a little while, and I just kind of felt that, God, I just miss it. So, in the search for something athletic, I clicked on YouTube, and I listened to me. I found some of the games that I called for local cable this year. The Franklin at King Philip Thanksgiving football game that I did for North Attleboro Community Television's Plainville channel. And then the Mansfield versus Needham boys basketball tournament game from March 1st that I did for Mansfield Cable Access. And when those were done, I searched YouTube for other games by other broadcasters so I could compare and contrast my work to theirs. Yeah, some people joke with me that I want to watch my own games a lot, and it's not because I'm in that much in love with my own voice, although I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't, I guess. But I do enjoy listening to what other people do because I want to learn. If it's something good, I want to learn what they're doing, and if it's something bad, I don't want to repeat that. So I found one such game. I can't remember who, and I'm not even going to say who just in case somebody hears it and says, "Oh, what an asshole he is." And to be honest, I clicked it off after a quarter and a half of basketball. The analyst was an older gentleman, probably a former coach, and he spent the entire portion of the broadcast complaining about the officials, or complaining about the coaching, or complaining about the young ladies that were playing the game and saying they weren't really as good as what they seemed to be doing at the moment that they were doing it. Oh, God, I hope I never get that bad. I'm fortunate. I work with some very intelligent, knowledgeable, and enthusiastic broadcast partners for both North TV and for Mansfield Cable Access and for Foxborough Cable Access. And, we all understand that we're calling high school games and not the seventh game of the NBA Finals. Now, they analyze the action very well, much better than I could, that's for sure. I mean, I'm not, again, maybe I don't know the game all that well, but I do know how to talk. But I also know when to let other people talk and when to let the people who know the sport better than I do explain what's going on out there. And so I really enjoy working with these people, and I think they make the entire broadcast better. And I know they make me sound better. And yet while I don't restrain them from a moment of questioning a bad call or maybe wondering a little bit about a strategy choice, but they do it understanding that we're not covering pro sports. And their love of the amateur game comes out loud and clear in our interaction and what goes out over the airwaves. If the day comes when I sound during a high school game just as angry and as jaded and as bitter as what I heard last night, I will definitely walk away from the microphone. No questions asked. Okay, Counting Cars segment is back. Yay! Today I took a trip down from here to the Stop and Shop in Mashpee, and then from there to get my departed friend here. And I managed to go. I actually did in 2 trips. What I do, again, for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about, counting cars, I hook up a microphone and I just shout out the country of origin of the cars that pass me on the other side of the road. And what that is my own little survey about who's buying what and how popular certain cars are. And it actually tells me a little bit about the market these days and what cars are gaining in popularity and what aren't. And sometimes, too, it also indicates that when a number of brands start dropping off, then certain countries are starting to corner the market. Also, the other thing I do note, and I'll have to say this over and over, while there are a lot more American cars, it seems, nowadays than there were when I first started doing this several years ago, most of them are trucks, either small trucks or big trucks, mostly big trucks because there aren't too many small American trucks sold anymore, or SUVs or minivans and things like that. Not that many passenger cars, because we just don't make that many of them in the United States anymore. The results today, after this break. Also had some popcorn tonight, and I think I got a kernel here somewhere. Okay. In the entire, in the Route 28A to Stop and Shop segment, excuse me, there were 120 Japanese cars, 117 American cars, closest one yet, 22 German cars, 17 Korean, 6 Swedish, 4 from the United Kingdom, and 1 Italian car. There's an Alfa Romeo. You know what? That little puckered grill they have in the front, like that, it reminds me of the Edsel. If the Ford Edsel of 1958 was being manufactured today, I think that's what it would look like. Anyway, that was 287 cars in total. The Japanese were 41.8%. The Americans 40.8%. Germans 7.7%. Koreans 5.9%. The Swedish, I think these were all Volvos the first time, but I think there was one Saab later. And they don't make Saabs anymore, of course. That was 2.1%. 1.4% for the United Kingdoms, and I think since there were 4 of them, I think there were 3 Land Rovers and 1 Mini Cooper. And then, of course, the lone Alfa Romeo with the pucker grill. Okay, and the way back from, I guess it was it Old Barnstable Road? It's where Mashpee High School is, down to the fish market in Katomet. Where I got this guy. Let's see, that was 140 Japanese cars, 133 American, 24 Germans, 8 Koreans, 7 Swedish, and 4 from the United Kingdom for 316. So the total in all was 603 cars. And the Japanese won the day again with 260. The Americans 250. We're keeping up. 46 Germans, mostly BMWs, a few Mercedes and some VWs as well. 25 Korean cars, 13 Swedish cars, and the best showing they've had so far. 8 from the United Kingdom, and of course our lone Italian. Bringing up the rear, as we always do. 43.1% for the Japanese, 41.5% for the US, 7.6% for the Germans, 4.1% for the Koreans, 2.2% for the Swedes, 1.3% for the UK, and 0.2% for my Goombas. Okay. And therefore, and that is basically all I want to do today. We already have 18 minutes. Wow. So, that's it for episode 4. Let's see. The notes say here, give the web page email us. Okay. If you want to follow what I do on a regular basis, for whatever reason you might want to do that, I would advise you to go to www.theownersbox2020.com. That is where you find my written blog and links to all my audio or video blogs. And they're getting really popular these days. I've had, since I revived it in February, we now have about 10,200 hits. And I only had 200 when I... Actually, the blog was started in 2009, and then I completely forgot about it for 10 or 11 years. So in the 11 years... it's been 10,000 extra hits, so I'm very, very appreciative to everybody who is watching and listening and doing whatever they're doing. And if you like what you hear or see on any of this, I want you to take a look at this, okay? Because people tell me I take too long to explain how to send me an email. So the email address is theownersbox2020@gmail.com. Now you see how it's written there? I'm not going to explain all the things that aren't there. That's just exactly how you want to write it. Freeze frame and take a look at that if you want to send me a letter. Theownersbox2020@gmail.com. Or You can send me snail mail, I'll get that out yet, at the Owner's Box, Post Office Box 272, Mansfield, Massachusetts 02048. Okay, and I want to thank the folks at Duck and Cover Productions for another stellar job of getting me on screen and not breaking the camera. It's Diet Dr. Pepper, folks. Don't get excited. And I promise I will have another episode soon. And also, I just want to remind you that my audio podcast, which is really the flagship. Oh, what was that? Oh, information. That's the flagship of the operation, and that is on hiatus right now. But I will be back soon with some new guests and some exciting interviews, and I really enjoy doing that. And who knows, maybe one of these days I'll perfect doing it with video. So, after 21 minutes, the longest one yet, I want to thank you again. Thanks a lot for joining me. I want you to stay safe, wash your hands frequently, and wear your masks in public so we can stop this foolishness. And good night, everybody. I still don't have that starting at the right time. I need a new producer. Bye, all.